Hello, everyone. Happy New Year. Welcome to our first BDPA Tech and Career Talk of the year. We're excited to continue this great platform and have you with us for 2025. This is our 50th year for BDPA's existence. This is our golden year anniversary, 50 years of doing the great work that we've been doing and building our pipeline in the African American community within the technology fields and sectors. So we're excited about this milestone. Be on the lookout for all the great things happening throughout the year. And also make sure you are in Atlanta, Georgia, August 13th through the 16th. For our 50th anniversary National Conference and Career Fair. BDPA Con 25 is going to be amazing. There's already some material going out. Super early bird registration is open now. So make sure you go to conference.bdpa.org and register. Don't miss out. You don't want to be one to hear about this one. I tell you this every year, but I really mean it this year. Don't miss this one. So glad to have you with us. I am Devin Jenkins, our National Tech and Career Talk leader. I serve as a business relationship management manager in IT at GE Healthcare. And I'm also the founder CEO of Share the Vibes LLC, located here in Charlotte, North Carolina. So I am glad to be with you today. If you're not familiar with BDPA or our Tech and Career Talks, this is new to you. You just wanted to hear Bernard today. I just want to give you a little context behind the organization and what we do, so you know a little bit about us, and you can continue to get engaged with us and support what we do. So BDPA, Black Data Processing Associates, been around since 1975. Like I said, this is our 50th year. For 50 years, we've been training youth in computer skills, programming, professional development, preparing them for careers in the technology field. We also continue to be a forum for professionals that work in this arena, giving them skills, networking opportunities, and making sure we build a strong talent pipeline in the African American community and advance careers from the classroom to the boardroom. Tech and Career Talks take place the second and fourth Friday of each month. We have different speakers coming in, speaking on different topics. Today we're talking about STEM education. Others talk about AI, cybersecurity, and everything in between. So we have something for everyone, regardless of whether you're a student, you're retired, you're an executive, or anywhere in between. We give you something that everybody can take value from in terms of technology and career education. So we're excited to have you with us. Tell a friend to join us. Share this video with somebody who needs to see it. Like, share, subscribe, comment below if you're watching this on YouTube. And pass this information on to those who need to hear it because it's valuable. And we need to share this with our communities. So that's my spiel. If you're in the call, the link is in the chat, conference.bdpa.org. If you want to check this out afterwards, this will be on our YouTube channel, National BDPA, or you can also go to bdpa.org/tech and career talks. Many of you may have even went to that site and registered today, but all this will be available on the website, so you can get this information and share it with others. That's my intro. That's my opening. I'm going to bring on our special guest today, Mr. Bernard Nealy, out of Huntsville, Alabama. Bernard, how are you?
I'm doing fine. How are you guys doing out there?
I'm doing well. Hope everyone else in the conversation agrees. So we're gonna jump in. So I used to, when I started this, I would read your long bio and call out all your accomplishments and everything. But I found it's a little better just to let the guests tell their own story in their own way. So before I ask you to tell us, who you are, I just like to break the ice a little bit. So before we jump into your bio, so to speak, start us off with just what is your favorite coding language?
My favorite coding language is Python. And the reason for that is I'm an adjunct instructor at Calhoun Community College. And I've been teaching Python now in the classroom there going on 3 years. So Python is my favorite language.
Okay, there it is, Python, Python. Let us know in the chat if you agree with that. If you're a coder, you're in the programming languages, let us know in the comments on YouTube. Let us know if Python is your favorite language as well. And if not, let us know what is your favorite language. We can argue it out. So thank you for sharing that with us. I thought it was good just to kind of get an understanding of what excites you, in the STEM world, since we're talking about STEM education today and unlocking potential through those means. So let's I always like to let the guests know who's talking to us. So why don't you give us your story, walk us through the journey of how you got to where you are today.
So my story is this. It started when I was I guess about 8 or 9. back in Tallahassee, Florida. Out working with my dad and my uncle and my oldest brother, in the fields. I'm an old guy now. And, when I first got started, working with my dad, he was going down, we was out in this big field, you know, harvesting corn. So my dad put me up on that old Ford tractor of his and showed me how to shift the gears and everything and clutch it. So and it just took off from there. So I just started learning so but my dad and my uncle and my oldest brother, they the one who got me started, and but my background, like I said, I come from the farming environment, and we grew a lot of different vegetables and the fields and so forth. Worked on a farm with my dad and uncles, watching them work, and I was just getting involved. So I started tinkering with small lawnmower engines, 8-track, tape decks, TVs, VCRs, and stuff like that. Just tearing things apart, putting it back together, and so my curiosity just grew. It just grew from there. And over the years, I was inspired by my economics teacher, to go out and see Germany, see the world, learn, about different things and meet new people. And so that got me started when I was 16. And I told my parents I was going to go join the Army once I graduated from high school there in a small town called Monticello. It's not too far from Tallahassee. And so I joined the military, went into the military, and I was constantly learning things. Small group, large group, just learning. And so it just grew from there. But my job that I had when I was in the military, I was what they call a signal support a non-commissioned officer. And it's dealing with IT. It's all about IT. And so, I kind of grew through the ranks pretty quick, and was taking on major jobs, in my career, and taking some of the advanced schooling for being in that career field. So that got me started in the military. I was working with satellite communications, email terminals, long distance, long haul communications, and so forth. So retired from the Army in '97. At the age of 38, I had learned quite a bit. So I moved into the federal government. The federal government started, teaching me new things, and the whole time I was around engineers, computer science, systems, electronic, mechanical. I was already in it. I was already in the STEM fields. But what excited me was when I started to learn in the military about the hardware. The hardware is one thing, but you getting into the STEM fields need to know how that hardware works. So, so the Army taught me all the hardware side, the electronics, DC, AC electronic stuff. And so it just grew from there. And my mind was always, I was always constantly thinking, what can I learn next? What can I learn next? So I got out of the military, worked in a software development lab, learning all about THAAD, Patriot, UAVs, AWACS aircraft, you name it, I was learning it from the software standpoint and how you test, the software and the hardware together. And it just kept growing. So the military sent me to Athens State College here in Alabama to get my bachelor's degree. And there I started taking my first language, which was basic programming. And I tried some Pascal, but I failed Pascal. It was too complicated. And it just kept growing. It kept growing. So I started learning how to do JavaScript. Okay, I got the like in JavaScript. I said, okay. Now, the syntax and all of that, the concepts and all of that, they're pretty much the same across all the programming languages. It's just how you use those concepts within the program and the semantics part of it. So it just kept growing. And then they sent me off, the federal government sent me off to get my master's in IT. And I just kept growing. It just kept growing. But the desire to teach, the desire to work with all demographics, it was still there. And part of that I contribute to my dad and my grandmother, you know, and my mom. And but you know, I started out at Pine Grove Missionary Baptist Church here in Harvest, teaching at the church, and it just grew. And at the time, the a lot of people wasn't, didn't like the fact that I'm here at the church teaching, and they started coming to my training sessions, but they quit. So my pastor sent me out into the community. So started from the church, went to the community, and it just kept growing, kept growing. But the whole time I was around STEM. Everything that we do, I tell everybody, all my students, everything that we do is STEM related. From our homes, when we're cooking, when we're doing the lawn, you know, everything is STEM related. And a lot of people don't realize that, but I still had that passion for teaching. So retired from the federal government about 3 years ago, you know, and started the SIM Squad business. And it's a nonprofit organization, 501c3. And again, the passion for teaching was still there. And so what my team did, we wanted to make it accessible to everyone. My youngest instructor is 15. He teaches my drones. He teaches all the instructors. But I'm surrounded by, you know, young individuals that is hungry for knowledge. And so that's what we do here in Harvest, Huntsville, Madison, Decatur, Athens. We reach out to the less fortunate, the underserved youth and their parents from different organizations. So that's what I do. You know, I'm supposed to be retired, but I'm really not retired. As an adjunct instructor, you know, working with students, you know, training them. And so that's basically from when I was 8, 9, and 11, it just grew from there. But my grandmother, my mom, and my dad, they pretty much told me what my future was going to be, you know, because, you know, I'm a people's person, you know, and I like speaking. So that's my story.
Yeah.
That's my story.
There's so much baked in there. And as I'm listening, I hear a lot of similarities to my story. I'm a country boy to Fitzgerald, Georgia. Clarence is
Well,
on.
I know where you're from. I know where you're from.
Okay, you know about Fitzgerald.
Yes, I got a partner up in Clarksville, Tennessee. He's from Fitzgerald. Derek
Okay,
Wilcox.
okay.
Yes,
We
yes,
might be cousins.
yes, yes.
But just growing up, my granddad, he had 5 acres at his house and he had the farm. So I would be out there, 3, 4 years old, sitting in his lap on the tractor, moving stuff
Yes, yes.
around. I remember seeing the plows in the yard and
Oh, yes.
the fruits and the vegetables, the corn, all that stuff. I learned how to drive in the field. He'd be on the tractor, I'm driving the truck
That's
around the
it.
field.
That's where you learn.
So I know I relate to a lot of that, and I have an uncle who still likes to tell this story every time we get together for a holiday. Like, yeah, Pete, down there, Devin had this toy, and he'd tear it apart. Like, he done messed that toy up. And he put it back together again. And so I hear you talking about, the 8 tracks and all this stuff growing up, just being curious about how things work together.
Yes, yes.
And it forms your mind. That curiosity, it transforms into lucrative careers and impactful
Yes,
work
it
in
does.
life.
Yes, it
So.
does. Mhm.
I love the story, just starting from the farm to exploring the world through the army to coming back and putting those skills to use to empower our communities with
Oh, yes. Oh,
education and
yes.
skills. So very powerful story. Thank you for sharing that. And I was going to ask you, when was your passion for STEM birth? But I think you got into that, and in the military, getting into the hardware and the software side of things. So I want to transition into kind of the basics of STEM education itself. So, if you think about basketball, for example, somebody say, what's the fundamentals of basketball you need to know? You need to know how to dribble, you need to know how to shoot, you need to know how to play defense. Your defense is
Right,
you
right.
understand triple threat, boxing out to get rebounds. So, if you think about that being like those foundational elements, those core principles of basketball. When we think about STEM education,
Right,
what would you
right.
say are the core tenets, the foundational elements of STEM education that you need to know?
Okay, the foundation elements in STEM education that everyone needs to know, not just the students, the parents, the school teachers. And one of the elements is critical thinking. Critical thinking is the bedrock of STEM. It is the bedrock of STEM. And then you got communication and collaboration. I look back at my military days, out with my soldiers, in the foxhole, or when we was out on a training exercise somewhere, you know, there was a lot of communications going on. There was a lot of collaboration going on. As a team lead, platoon sergeant, you got to know what each one of your team members' role is on that team. Whether you laying cables, long haul cables, working AM, FM radios. It's important that you're able to communicate amongst the team, and not only just at the team, but at the upper levels in your first line supervisor and above, and just constantly collaborating with them. And then perseverance. You got to be able to think outside of the box. You got to be able to think outside of the box, and that's mean in all areas of your life. You got to be thinking outside the box, and I always think about scripture where it talks about how God he don't want you to think like a robot. Everybody thinks different, and so you got to think outside the box. We our learning curves are different. So for me in an academic environment, and I look at all of those things. Critical thinking, I look at communication and collaboration. I look at perseverance. Those are the things I think is those foundational elements, to STEM. Um, you know, but that's my take on
Hey, if it's your take, I'll take it.
it. Yes, yes,
No, but it makes sense though. And STEM is an ever evolving field, so it's not like math is a part of STEM, but you,
yes,
you learn 1 + 1 = 2, like you got that for the rest of your life. But when you think about STEM holistically, technology is ever changing. So what you learn today may be outdated 3 months from now. And have the ability to think critically, to persevere, to continue to refine your skill sets, refine your knowledge,
yes,
is
yes.
what keeps you relevant, and effective when we think about STEM. So everything you said makes absolute sense to me, in that regard. So, talked about the foundations of STEM education, and you shared you have expertise and skill sets across a number of fields and areas within STEM. So with STEM being so broad, what's your focus areas in terms of the STEM education you provide?
My I look at it from a real world perspective. When I'm in the classroom, on campus, in the community, or at the church, you know, I try to combine all of my that that knowledge that I've gained over the years, and so I try to stay focused on it, and I try to trim it down a little bit so the my audience understand where I'm coming from. I try not to talk over their head as an adjunct instructor. I try to keep it down on their level, and by me doing it that way, I'm able to reach more kids, the parents. You know, I can reach them. When I talk on their level. You know, and I just I just come up with different strategies in the classroom, like um, the Raspberry Pi computer. I use that little small computer in the classroom to teach my students how to program in Python. So so with that small computer, you're able to do computer science, computer engineering, as well as test electronics. That is three disciplines in just an hour and 45 minutes. So I like using different strategies in my classroom. And I use those same strategies out in the community when I'm training 100 Black Men or Girls Inc., some of those different homeschoolers. I don't change because of what's going on out in the environment, the world. My style of teaching has always been the same. And I didn't realize, Devin, that when the dean and HR hired me to come and work at Calhoun, they said, we've been watching you in the community. And at the time I was doing training with BDPA, the Huntsville chapter. And they said, we've been watching you. And we see your style of teaching. And we want you to bring that same style of teaching to the classroom at the college level. And it just blew my mind when they said they've been watching me, and got that first interview back in 2022. They didn't hire me right away, but they waited a few months, and then they bolt me on. And the day of that interview, they asked me to speak for about 12 to 15 minutes on a topic that was programming related. And when I gave them the interview, they looked, shook their heads, and say, "Okay, we can work with him." So when they, allowed me to get in there and teach it the way I've taught it in the community, in the military, it was a game changer for me. And I've been there now for going on 3 years, and I haven't changed my style of teaching. It's hands-on in the classroom with that Raspberry Pi computer. Yes, so I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, I know I hear a recurring theme, throughout things. You talked about computer science, computer engineering, electronics. So it sounds like that might be kind of your main focus there when we talk about STEM. You think about the Raspberry Pi. I think you cover a lot of things. I think you're pretty broad.
It's all combined. STEM is intertwined.
Yeah.
All those different disciplines is intertwined together. You can't get away from it. The
That's
science, the math. Math is in programming.
Yeah.
You need computer technology. You need that hardware stuff. It takes a computer science a programmer to program that hardware. So all of it is intertwined, just like STEAM in the arts. A lot of crafting, a lot of, everything you do around your home, is STEM related. Your alarm system, your garage door opener, when you're cooking, doing measurements, when you're doing carpentry work, all of that is STEM.
Yep.
All of that is STEM. And we as grown-ups, we as parents, grandparents, we don't realize that, but everything that we do is STEM related or STEAM related.
It's a great perspective.
Yes.
Everything is connected. So
everything is connected.
So I love that you take the approach of teaching things in a way where you get those different disciplines at once, because to your point, it is all connected. So thank you for that. That's a great perspective to share. And as I think about this audience, many of the representatives on here and their chapters are working with high school students, preparing them for our high school coding competition at the conference and IT showcase, and a lot of things around computer science, programming, and innovation in those regards. So we think about computer science specifically right now for a little bit. What would you say you've seen are some of the biggest barriers and challenges that all people have had when it comes down to trying to learn computer science skills? You work with youth, college students. You talk about parents, so you're hitting adults, so you're covering the full spectrum of BDPA.
Yes, you've got to take that approach, because if you don't win the parents over, you're not going to get those kids. And I'm learning that, being out in the community every week, every day, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturdays, I'm out in the community training, teaching computer science. But for me and a lot of the students, it's a fear of failure. It's the fear of failure. when you're working with a program, Python program or block-based program. Right now, I'm working with a Title I school here in Huntsville. Their after-school program, and we're teaching them about how you program a drone, how you program a robot. And a lot of those young third, fourth, and fifth graders, that's what their fear is: failure. And some of them procrastinate there for a little bit until we, as teachers, my uh, my STEM team, we kind of nudge them on, you know, and jump in there and try it. And once they jump in and try it, that light bulb just light up in their brains, and they're off to the races after that. And we can't slow them down. They just, when you see a child, when you see a student that age learning, especially from a Black perspective, they seeing me and my team, out teaching computer programming, you know, and we're teaching them how to code and block this drone to fly by itself, or this robot to do certain things. And when that light bulb light up, and you see the smile on their face, working together as a team, um, that's the joy that I get when I see that they're learning something new. You know, money doesn't matter. If I tell my instructor team, if we can reach one, teach one, and they learn how to do block, how to program that drone, how to program that Raspberry Pi, that robot, we got them. And then when you can, with the 100 for an example, I've got about 30 boys up there that I train in STEM. Their parents are sitting in that classroom, those mothers, those fathers, and then we have all those mentors. And when those parents see them learning from someone Black, they'd be in tears. They'd be in tears. It's just like the STEM Fest we had the other night over at Martin Luther King Jr. Elementary School here in Huntsville. One of them Black parents sat down with me and said, "How do you learn this stuff?" I had a fear just like those kids did, those young students, but I overcame it. I used to procrastinate a lot. I used to holler and call Jason, Mr. Bradshaw a lot, asking him questions, picking his brain, and so that's some of the biggest, the fear, even in my college students, the fear of failure in that classroom. But I make it so simple for them. And my oldest student right now, he's in his late 40s. And the light bulb just lit up the other day when he hooked that circuit board to that little Raspberry Pi computers and made those LEDs blink. It just lit up in his mind. And when I showed him what Python language looked like, he said, "This is Python?" I said, "Of course, that's Python. It's not like C, C++, C sharp, those older languages. It's real. It's just like you and I sitting here talking. That's how easy Python is. But you gotta, I tell them all, learn the concepts and get rid of that fear. Once you learn the concepts in my classroom, you're good. But that's what I see in the community. The fear of failing, in front of the other students. It's that peer pressure, fear of failure.
No, I didn't know what you were going to answer. I didn't expect that to be the answer, but it makes a lot of sense. I think the fear of failure is probably one of the biggest barriers in most of the things we try to do, whether it's learning
That's right.
STEM, learning an instrument, public speaking, all these things. It transcends different areas of our life. But if we can overcome that fear of failing, man, it starts to unlock a lot of doors. And you mentioned Jason in that call. And I'm wearing my Cold Sipper Pete shirt today.
Yeah, I
Once
see it. I see it. I see it.
once again, make sure you're at the conference this year. But you mentioned Python being your favorite language and how easy it is to learn. And at Cold Sipper Pete at BDPA Con last year, I was just sitting back watching people who had never coded a day in their life and learning these Python prompts right here in real time in a different environment that was safe. And some were older, some were younger, but it spoke to anyone has the ability to learn these things, and we can kind of get out of our own way. So I'm glad you shared that. That's definitely insightful, and I'm something that I'm sure most of these chapters deal with. Trying to train the young people in these high school coding competition programs and IT showcase and preparing them for conferences and everything they're doing. So, knowing that, what have you found to be some of the most effective teaching strategies for both youth and adults when it comes down to teaching these skills?
Teaching these skills, the strategies that I use in the community as well as in the classroom. Like I said, I don't change my strategy because it works for me. It's been working for over 12 years for me. And I like to bring in new technology in my classroom, like robots, drones, the Raspberry. I bring all of those different technologies into my classroom. And that's and Calhoun, my dean of my department, um, she allowed me to bring it in and say, we just want you to train these students. And when they leave, they have gained some knowledge from you because you have a lot of knowledge. And we want you to share that with these students. And so all of my students right now, they're learning, the way I've got these 8 students right now, I've got it broken out into a program already prepared with the drone. I got a program that's already prepared with the Raspberry Pi. It may be a motion detector. It may be an RFID card reader. It may be an air quality meter, or temperature sensor. I've got that program broken down in blocks of code, and I take them through that program line by line, teaching them, and this is effective for me in my classroom. Now, and then there's corporate learning where my students come together and as a team, and they try to tackle some of those difficult problems that they're having with that air quality meter or that temperature gauge. Those are some of my tougher projects. I do experimental type learning. Once I've given them a project to work on, I bring them all together 15 minutes before my class ends, and we do some reflection. We do some reviews, and I ask each one of them to share their experience working on that project in a group setting. And then I do what project-based learning. All of my work in the classroom is project-based, using the drone, the robots, the Raspberry Pi computer. They're all project-based. And every semester, I have different projects for my group. And then there's inquiry-based, based on the topics that we're covering, say like object-oriented programming or database, learning how to take a database and connect it, learning how to write a program in Python and connect to a database. So a lot of them, I got them researching that process already because of their minds. They're asking questions and I'm giving them extra work to do. So those are some of the different strategies: technology, corporate learning, experimental learning, project-based, and inquiry-based learning. Those are the strategies that I use in my classroom, and it's been successful for me.
Well, thank you for sharing that. And I hope
Yes.
the audience is taking notes as we're getting these HSCC teams together. If you haven't been employing some of these strategies, in your own chapters, or if you're not doing that but teaching in other ways, or you're trying to learn yourself, I know here are some practical things you can do to enhance your learning experience. And I see Lawanza dropped some resources in the chat there for some learning around Python, and we're going to open for the questions here shortly. So I wanted to talk a little bit about STEM squads. So you started a business a few years ago. You're supposed to be retired, but can't sit down. That's a common story. So tell us a little bit more about STEM squad, what you've been doing there, and what are some exciting things in the pipeline.
Some of the exciting things in the pipeline for STEM Squad, we took on a teaming agreement with Alabama A&M. We're training their STEM teachers. As I bring those STEM teachers on, with my team, with my squad, and we take them around, show them how we teach our workshops, our training sessions, and but I have a curriculum for them, for those STEM teachers, as they come to my organization. You know, I take them around, show them the different training sites, and so I'm excited about working with Alabama A&M STEM Teach program, and I've reached out to an organization called Esports, a lot of virtualization, gaming and so forth. They've asked us to come and teach drone and robot programming, inside their organization. And like I said earlier, I'm working with MLK Junior Elementary School after school program. I'm excited about that. Working with those third, fourth, and fifth graders, and also the teachers. I just don't train the students. I train the teachers as well because they need to be retrained. If they're not familiar with STEM, how to integrate it in the classroom, and so I work with the teachers also. Um, I'm doing some work with drone simulation. Um, that little young 15-year-old instructor of mine, he's heavy into the drones. So I've got him into programming and block and Python. And plus he's learning those two languages in school right now. And it just blows my mind to see him doing, at his age, 15, he's learning from me how to program and block in Python and JavaScript. And he's got it. He's got it. And he's going places. Um, so, you know, and I'm working with the FAA on this youth drone initiative. I'm excited about that program also. Um, again, and that's probably all of them, Devin, what I've got going on. But I'm
a lot.
I'm excited. It's a lot. But I've got a team, STEM Squad. I let them carry the load. I don't do too much teaching with them. I do all my teaching in the classroom at the college level. And those volunteers, instructors of mine, I'm proud of them. They're good at what they do. And I'm just excited. I'm just excited to be operating, managing STEM Squad, and the organization. So those are some of the things I've got going on.
That's some big stuff in the pipeline.
It is. It is.
Salute to you and the team for getting to this point, and excited to see where it goes from here. Just in thinking about BDPA, there's been a lot of people who've come through our youth programs, our collegiate programs, and they're going on to do some amazing things, and still are doing them in government, industry, corporate, et cetera, all around the world. Have there been any big success stories from STEM Squad thus far that you?
Yes. I can't think of the one young lady's name. We sent her to the competition. First name was Faith, and Jason knows her. Jason knows her last name. And last year I issued her a scholarship from the 100 Black Man, and she's doing some awesome things. I think she got about 10 different scholarships from different colleges and so forth. She's one of our success stories, BDPA. And then there was Javon Jennings. Javon Jennings, I think he may have gotten first place. I think that year we went to competition, first, second, and third place. Javon Jennings now is working for the FBI. That's a success story for me. And I haven't been in contact with Faith to see where she was at. But, and then we got other young success stories, can't call their names right now, but it's been a while. They say I'm getting older and my memory short nowadays, so those are some of the, I've got one other guy up in Nashville. He's studying to be a doctor. I taught him about the Raspberry Pi computer when he was about 10. And this young man is 21, 22, and he's designing this hand project for people with a deformity in their hands. Those are 3 success stories that comes to mind, with me. That's a success there.
Yeah, I think it's always great to see the fruits of your labor, if you will.
Yes.
It helps to remind you of why you do the work you're doing, and to those on the call today who work with these different young people, the collegiate students, even the adults, in your chapters, teaching these skills. Hopefully, this is a reminder that the work pays off and that what we're doing really matters here. So,
Yes, it does. It does pays off, David. I'm serious. It pays off. And I've always told Jason and all my STEM squad team, for me at my age, it's not about the money. It's about helping the underserved, underrepresented, students, parents. I pull the parents in and train them from time to time, as well as teachers. So I'm training all of them that I come in contact with. I wouldn't, and I'm real when I say this. As a man, as a black man that has this wisdom, this knowledge, I wouldn't feel right if I left this world and haven't done what God and Christ have asked us to do as a man. I wouldn't feel right leaving this world having done those things. You know, so it's not about the money. It's not about the money. It's those kids, those underrepresented and underserved kids. That's what it's about.
our national president, Perry Carter, you often hear him use terms like mission partners and fulfilling our mission. So I know
Yes, yes.
it applies even to what you're saying. We all have a mission here while we're here, and salute to you for all the work you're doing and fulfilling yours. So, lastly, before we open the floor to questions from the group here, in one of our previous conversations, one thing you said to me, I remember vividly. You say, I know how to teach." You said, "I know how to teach," and I think listening to you today, you've provided evidence that that's the case. So, just any just kind of one big takeaway you want to leave the listeners with today as they're preparing these students for the high school coding competition and IT showcase and all these academies we have going on that are stemming up across the country. Just anything you want to leave the listeners with today as far as just as you're setting up these students for success to compete in these competitions we have, or even as they're learning themselves.
One message that I want to leave with the students out there getting involved in STEAM, have a voice. Have a voice in your learning. Have a voice in your learning. And if you have a voice in your learning, you're engaging, learning, constantly learning, and you're gonna soar. You're gonna soar. So have a voice in your learning and don't be afraid to challenge yourself. There are gonna be failures. I've failed so many times and I've gotten up because God has given me the strength to get up and keep fighting for another day. So challenge yourself and take advantage of the resources that's out there. On the web. Just take advantage of those resources. A lot of free resources out there. It's just we as a people we're lazy. I'm gonna be real. They won't get out there and research. Do the research, but always have a voice in your learning, And if you do, you're gonna soar.
Have a voice in your learning. I like that. You mentioned resources. Any resources you want to share, you recommend for people to check out?
Some of the resources, speak on the resources that I use in my classroom. I use what they call an application called Skills for All. Skills for All is a program where if you want to know anything about programming, AI, whatever, hardware perspective, Cisco created this learning management site tool, and it's called Skills for All. It's free up until the point where you want to get a certificate, get certified in a different language. Skills for All. I use that resources, share that with my students. W3 Schools. This is another free site out there. If you to make it, for as a topic, making STEM accessible, all of this stuff is accessible. You just got to have a desire to learn, a desire to go out there and research. The the teachers are not going to know everything. And so you've got to get out there and do some research on your own. Code.org is another resource I use in my classroom, you know, and there's other resources out there, but I stay focused on those three because in my classroom, my students are, most of them is attempting to major in cybersecurity, computer science, biology, and I send them to all of these sites, you know, as a resource, And but I get a lot of phone calls. I'm their biggest resource. You know, he called me after the class is over with. You know, at night, late at night. You know, one of their biggest resources. They said. You know, so those are just some of the resources, but there are other resources out there that students can go and use. But then there's a lot of resources for teachers as well. A lot of resources for teachers. They just got to get out that box and get out there and start researching, you know.
There it is. Well, we're going to open the floor to questions for these last few minutes here. So we do have one question in the chat from Ernest, who asks, do you have any tips on overcoming imposter syndrome?
Wait a minute, say that again.
He said, do you have any tips on overcoming imposter syndrome?
I'm gonna be honest. No, I don't. I'm just seriously. I really don't. I haven't really addressed that. You know, I really don't have any input.
And I think you spoke to it a little bit earlier. You know, talking about overcoming that fear of failure. Because you know, I've faced imposter syndrome myself. You know,
okay, all right. I'm with you.
And I think part of that fear of failure is oftentimes feeling like you don't belong, or sometimes you start to realize the success and you're like, wait a minute, this really me? Hold on. Am I supposed to be here? Am I supposed to be the one doing this? So I think you touched on that a little bit earlier.
Yeah,
When you
and yes, I did, and I
that
apologize for that response back to the, you know, but yes.
Okay. Any other questions on the chat? The floor is open. In the chat, or if you want to come off mute, you can do that as well.
Yes, just want to say hello to Mr. Nealy. This is Clarence Purdue.
How you doing, Mr. Purdue?
Yeah, I like your story you gave, and you know, I'm here in this rural setting as well, and some of the things you talk about, tinkering with things, it definitely will get you off the ground. But as I said, I'm just really always amazed every time I hear you talk that you have even more things that you're delving in. And some of those organizations I have been around as well. But keep up the good work.
Thank you.
I see another question in the chat from Jason. He asks, what motivates you to keep going and not enjoy retirement?
It's like I tell a lot of young men, older men, you know, God put us here on earth for a purpose. And like I said earlier, I can't sit back and talk about retiring on God. I'm not going to retire on these young students that needs help. You know, some of these parents that need help. Yes, I could be enjoying retirement, but that's not me. My spiritual heartbeat is different from everybody else's. You know, my grandmother and my mom, my dad foretold my future what I was going to be doing, and they hit it right on the head. But retirement is not for me. You know, I've got work to do out there in the communities. I just got work to do. It's my ministry, and I'm not going to give up on my ministry.
It is. Got to know your ministry.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions or comments out there? Let's see. We do have a question here from Lawanzer. what do you recommend on how a student can regain their focus in learning?
To regain their focus on learning, you got to have a passion. You got to have a passion for, whatever you're doing. Like for me, my passion is teaching and learning new things. So you got to have a passion. Find out what your passion is. It could be a primary, it could be a secondary, but find out what your passion is, and just refocus. Just refocus on your passion. And for and as you move through your lives, your education and learning, you have to separate yourself from other people. If they're not part of your, your growth, your learning, you need to step to the side and let them go on by. But you got to stay focused. You got to get refocused. Just that's my approach to it.
Thank you for that. We have a question around your STEM Squad program, actually. So the question is, what do you need to scale your STEM Squad program for students and veterans locally or nationally? What's on your wish list? Or what is your wish list?
Well, right now, I was holding back on this. Right now, STEM Squad, we're working with WAFF TV. They're doing all of my marketing, and we've got a plan, some strategies right now to do email blasts, to do streaming. We've got a lot of things in the coming up for STEM Squad. So it's gonna get us our name out there, STEM Squad's name, as well as my instructors, gonna get them out there across all of Northern Alabama, Northern Florida, Middle Georgia, and up in Tennessee. So we're working on some things with the local TV station right now. I don't, for us having a wish list, I just take each day as it comes with my team, and we tackle whatever task whatever training session that we may have. I really don't have a wish list.
Thank you for that. Time for one more question if there is one. Okay. If not, any last words, Mr. Nealy, before we close today?
That's a question for me, Devin.
Yep. Any last words?
I enjoy this this podcast here because it's giving me an opportunity when I get out there with WAFF and do those talk sessions, midday reports and stuff like that. So this right here, this podcast is sort of give me a dress rehearsal. Rehearsing right now before I go to WAFF TV.
Good. Well, we wish you the best in all of your endeavors with STEM Squad and all that you're doing with the schools and students, adults, parents, everything. The work you're doing is impactful, meaningful, and it's needed. So thank you. And keep doing the work. Keep fulfilling the ministry and driving the mission forward. For those in the chat, I just dropped 2 links in there. If you're on YouTube, like I say, well, you already found this, but if you go to bdpa.org/tech and career talks, this talk will be out there, as well as all of our previous talks. So you can see everything in here, and you can get registered for our next Tech and Career Talk. So it's all on the website. And also make sure you register for BDPA Con 25. We'll be in Atlanta, Georgia, Westin Peachtree Plaza, August 13th through the 16th, celebrating our 50th year anniversary. It's our golden year, and it's going to be special. So go to conference.bdpa.org, get registered now. It's discounted. Get it. It's the cheapest it's going to be all year right now. So go on and register, get that super early bird registration, and make sure you're there with us in August. Well, until next time, stay safe, stay blessed. Thank you for joining. As always, like, share, subscribe, comment, share with somebody who needs to hear it, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.